All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Crew Show with a little 49er video as Mel Kiper has come out with his draft grade for the 49ers draft. And we'll talk about that coming up next. Of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And this video is also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. All right. And of course, Pig and a Pickle, Emeryville, Corte Madera, open 7 days a week. Go talk to Damon and Mary and tell them that Krug sent you and get some brisket chili. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper does his annual grades every year of the draft the day after. And it's always hard to grade a draft the day after. But he gave the Niners a B minus. And, I don't really have a problem with that. And I understand Mel's thoughts on it. He thinks that the Niners should have drafted an offensive tackle at some point, probably higher. The problem was when they got to 31, a lot of the top offensive tackles were already gone. I think 8 tackles had gone at that point. I thought Jordan Morgan was a reach. I was not a fan of the BYU kid, who I don't think is a great run blocker. Everybody else I thought was kind of a little bit of a projection. I thought the sweet spot in this draft was like Javon Foster, Garrett Greenfield, that second or third tier offensive tackle I thought was after the top guys, of course. The top guys were premier. But after that, I thought the middle ground was kind of problematic with some hits and misses among the offensive tackles. So it doesn't bother me that they did not go offensive tackle, but Mel marked them down. And he feels like they should have gone offensive tackle earlier. Why? Because Colton McKivitz allowed 11 sacks last year and struggled at times in the run game as well. And Mel's looking at it like, hey, man, they badly need an offensive tackle. And I think I agree with that. I think McKivitz is better than people think, but I think they definitely needed to invest in an offensive tackle, and they didn't early on. So the fact that they didn't was a little bit of a surprise, but I thought they played the board the way it came to them. Kiper also said that the Niners reached on Ricky Pearsall, that Pearsall was his 10th rated wide receiver and that there were better players available. I agree with this as well. I like Pearsall, and I think Pearsall is going to be an effective player. Ricky Pearsall is exactly what Brock Purdy needs. He needs a safety valve in the middle of the field who's got sticky hands and great route running, who can help him off platform when he extends plays in the middle of the field to flash open and make plays. And that's what Pearsall is going to do. So to be critical of it at all, I think is going to really look bad over time, because I think Purdy to Pearsall could wind up being very, very prolific. Why? Because Purdy's really accurate. He plays the game on time. And then Pearsall's a guy who excels in the middle of the field with great ball skills, great hands, great route running. They're almost made to play with each other. But when you looked around and you saw, man, Xavier Legette was there. There were other receivers that I kind of liked there as well that maybe were more future starting receivers. Maybe not as ready to play right now, but maybe more upside. In addition, you could have gone Michael Hall. You could have gone Ruka Rororo. You could have gone Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia. I thought that was an opportunity right there, especially since they came back later with another receiver that they probably could have gone with just Jacob Cowing and used Pearsall's selection on alignment, defensive line, offensive line, something like that. But they didn't. They went with Pearsall. And, and I understand why, and I agree with Kiper. I had higher rated players there. I had higher rated receivers there. But I do want to temper my criticism, because I think there's potential that Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall could be prolific, just because they're almost made to play with each other. It's in some ways the perfect fit. So I do understand why Kiper says they reached, but at the same time, I think that the production that comes forward from Purdy to Pearsall could make any questioning of that draft choice look kind of bad over time. So I understand. But I think if you take a closer look at it, you see that, man, there's real potential for Purdy to Pearsall to be amazing as a middle of the field combination. Then the one that I think I kind of disagree with Mel says the Niners reached badly on Renardo Green. he had Green as his number 21 corner, and he thinks they took him 2 rounds too soon, that he should have gone in the 4th round. I understand what he's saying because his opinion is the consensus opinion. All the mock drafts had Green in the 4th or 5th round. All the prognosticators had Green in the 4th or 5th round. But then when you get closer to it, man, there were several people that thought Green was an unbelievable sleeper, and I think he was too. To me, he's one of the best press man corners in the draft class among the corners, and there were good corners available. I don't know that there were a lot better than Green. I think Green is really, really a solid corner. So I'll disagree with Mel on that one. I understand why he says he went 2 rounds early and it was a 2 round reach because everybody had Green going later. But I see a guy who's a press man corner. And maybe more importantly, when the Niners lost Emmanuel Mosley and they lost Jimmy Ward, they lost their 2 alphas in the secondary. And to get Renardo Green and Malik Mustafa were, to me, adding 2 true alphas in the secondary, one at corner, one at safety. Both of them have the ability to play free safety. So I think Renardo Green is going to play really well in the NFL. I love what I saw from him at Florida State. I thought his man-to-man cover skills were fantastic. He's got experience playing free safety. He's got experience playing zone, playing off coverage. I think Green's a good pick and a good player. But I do understand for where Kiper and the draft people had Renardo Green, 4th or 5th round, to see him go in the late second is like, whoa, what about that? I mean, that seems like a reach. But once again, I'll go back to the old statement. If your premise is wrong, your conclusion's wrong. If your premise was that guy's a 5th round pick, then seeing him picked in the second is a mistake and a reach. But if my premise was that the draft people got their rankings about a round and a half too low, and that he should have been probably a mid-3rd round pick. And if you're picking at the end of the 2nd round, you don't pick again till the end of the 3rd round, and you really love the player, you got to take him in the second, or you got to trade back. So they could have traded back a few spots and took Renardo Green and got more draft capital. But I'm fine with them taking him in round 2. And I would disagree with Mel that that's a reach. Now, Mel really liked Dominic Pooney from Kansas, who can play all 5 offensive line spots, both tackles, both guards, and center. Very versatile and tough. And Mel thinks he's probably a starting offensive guard. I do as well. And to me, this is the one that I think Pooney might be able to plug and play at right guard, right out of the chute. I think Pooney, when you look at him, is probably a better player than Spencer Burford or Feliciano. Now, we'll see how they use Feliciano as the veteran. Burford's obviously going into now his 3rd season. Great rookie year, down 2nd year. But I think there's a very good chance that Pooney beats those guys out and starts at right guard between Brendel and McKivitz there on the offensive line. So he really likes Dominic Pooney. He also really liked Malik Mustafa and Isaac Guerendo, saying that he thinks Mustafa can make a big impact on special teams. I think Mustafa is another alpha in the secondary. I think he can play free safety. I love that pick in the 4th round, and then trading the 2/5 to get into the 4th for Guerendo, who ran 4.31 at almost 230 pounds. Guerendo's a little bit of a projection. Is he a running back? Is he a special teamer? Is he a fullback? Is he a tight end? Is he an H back? Is he a wide receiver? What he is a big, strong, fast athlete who's pretty freaking dynamic. And Kiper liked that pick, and he also liked the Mustafa pick. I'm surprised that Kiper in his breakdown did not say anything about Jacob Cowing, because to me, Cowing is one of the best players they got in this draft as well. Tremendous speed and also route running ability and toughness. Yeah, he's 5'8", but he's tough as hell. And I think there's a chance that Jacob Cowing is a major, major player in the Niners offense. I don't see him as a Danny Gray. I see him as a much tougher version of Danny Gray. So I like Cowing, and I think Cowing's going to be a great selection for the 49ers. But Mel didn't see it that way, or at least didn't mention him. And overall, he gives the Niners a B-, and I would say that's a pretty fair grade. I mean, I would probably give him closer to a B+, but I understand what he's talking about with Pearsall. I understand what he's talking about in Renardo Green. I understand, why the rank and file wants the Niners to have taken a tackle. To me, this draft would have been much better if they had, instead of taking Pearsall, taken Zach Frazier from West Virginia, had a center and then added Frazier and Pooney to their offensive line, even if they didn't get that tackle, a plug and play center and guard and start to build that wall around Brock Purdy, I think that would have been a better usage of the picks than Pearsall and then coming back with Cowing. And now you've got a bunch of receivers, but they're trying to get ready for, next year. And it sounds like next year they're going to pivot off of probably Debo or Jennings if they can get Ayuk signed to a long-term deal, and they wanted that wide receiver depth. And so they've got Pearsall and Cowing added to an already pretty solid wide receiver core. So overall, I understand why Mel gave the Niners a B minus. As I said, I'd give him probably a B plus. I think Mel sees it, pretty much the way I do as well. That they should have gone on the line of scrimmage probably at least one more time, either early in round one with an offensive or defensive lineman, or the Cowing pick could have been a Javon Foster, something like that. But they doubled up at wide receiver in a time when they really needed help on the offensive line, and that's kind of makes you wonder. But overall, there you go. Mel Kiper gives the Niners a B minus for their draft. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.